What's up? It's your boy Carcino here. Let's get into it. I wanted to definitely do this and speak on it. I was too busy moving around this weekend, so I never got a chance to really sit down and talk about what had happened with Brandon Marshall. And the fact that back in August, his contract with Fox Sports had ended because he had a contract with Fox Sports 1. He didn't have a contract with First Things First. But that's the show that they felt comfortable with him on because they brought him on after Chris Carter abruptly was fired from the network. Now, his contract was over in August, and he didn't plan on coming back. So I don't want people to think, oh, they didn't want to bring Brandon Marshall back. That wasn't the case. I don't want people to believe Brandon Marshall was never welcome to come back to the team. Because it was not, to the team, to the Fox Sports crew, because that would just not be true. He wanted to leave because he actually has a lot of things going on, people, that is actually better for him. Now, this person, Brandon Marshall, has always stated about mental health and how his mind, he needed help. And went and got the help. And still seeks treatment for mental health. And he's always been an advocate for mental health. In his playing days, he was villainized. He was villainized. And he just wanted to get help and get better. And he embraced, look, I have some things wrong with me mentally that everyone else can seem to move forward from, but I can't. So I need help. And he went and did these things. And he had become such a voice for athletes. They wanted him on Inside the NFL. They wanted him on a lot of platforms because of how passionate he speaks, how articulate he speaks, and the fact that now him and his friends have their own YouTube channel, I Am Athlete. And that is a channel I listen to because they always speak from a position of a man and not somebody with a battery in their back. And this was another reason he decided not to come back to Fox Sports 1. He walked away and said, no, I'm going to do my own thing. Now, he got a couple of shows coming out, but he decided to not come back. And we're going to get into that. Don't forget to hit the like button in case you just got here and didn't see it, or the notification got caught in the mail. You do that a lot here. Also, the super chat works. My Cash App is Carcino, K-A-R-C-E-N-O. The like button is free, and definitely subscribe to the page if you're new here. And let's get into it. As you can see, my man B. Marshall left, and he stated the reasons why he left. Now, in a lot of instances, Nick Wright would be the character that people love to hate, and he built himself up as playing this role where he says things that the public just can't believe he's saying, and they gravitated towards it because they couldn't believe who this guy was, and he built this popularity off of it, and he built his name up. And Brandon Marshall is a person that likes to speak from experience, one, and playing in the league, and he's not doing it for a take. And when you're going against somebody like that and you're always getting the last word, Brandon has a very powerful voice. His voice is powerful. He speaks from his soul. And someone who speaks from his soul and his heart, basically, than someone who's speaking from their head. The words always seem to mean more and has more grit and stick. Where these guys like Nick Wright, this is a job. And when they walk out the door, they can care less and probably won't remember the last thing they said about the subject. They don't even know why. They just know the goal is we got our views and we're going to stay in these narratives. Even if we're wrong, we don't care because this is where we are. This is what we do for a living. This is the job. Brandon Marshall don't feel that way. And his approach is stand out because they were basically beating Get Up in the morning, the Get Up show that ESPN created. Because of First Things First, they created Get Up to try to compete with this show. And he became the savior of the show, Brandon Marshall. He had the opinions. He had his knowledge of actually being a player who was recently not that far out of the league, where the coaches and the people that's there, he knows inside and out, even some of the players. So his knowledge about certain situations of modern day rules, you know, he has more firsthand knowledge to this and the actual psyche of what's going on out there on the court. I mean, not the court, but the field. And just in sports in general, even in other sports like basketball, he's friends with a lot of these people. So he knows a lot. So it becomes very difficult for you to go into false narratives. He's going to have a problem with that. If he didn't feel a certain way about it, just because it's the topic of the day, you know, and he's got to be a certain guy they want him to be, that's not going to go over well with him. So it's not about clashing when Nick probably was feeling a little, hey, this guy's stealing my shine. That's why they made him co-partner. Like, they made him the co-anchor on there, on the show. Like, okay, and the main chair went to Nick, and then they made him the co-star of the show, even though his contract was with Fox Sports 1 and not just First Things First. They could have moved him anywhere. This is primarily where they wanted him to stay. Now Chris Richard is supposed to be the new replacement full-time on this show. And with that being said, you have even more problems because the networks wanted to keep Brandon Marshall. They liked the combination of him and Nick. Even though his voice was more powerful than Nick Wright's, Nick Wright was still being heard. So it was what you would call the yin and yang. This was the yin and yang. But when you know your options and you know you don't want to be beholden to this, and this is not the energy you like, or it's not healthy energy for you, you might want out. And that's what happened with Brandon. He wanted out. I'll let Brandon tell it to you in his own words. Tell him, Brandon.
Feel comfortable moving forward with the FS1 show. It's how we talked about the athlete. Because you have to have, like, when you watch like ESPN or FS1, you have to have these takes. And your career is built off of these takes. And if I go out there and I have a hard stance on Sha'Carri, I gotta make sure that it's true, right? Mm-hmm. And my career is built off of that if I'm right. And so no matter what, I could be wrong, but I'm gonna continue to do everything I can to prop this up and make it to be true, so my career thrives.
What he said.
You see that? I gotta prop this thing up and believe it to be true. He can't do that. And ESPN, Fox Sports 1, they do this every day. Because they did something for a take. And they don't believe this. But they convince you that they do. And they stick with this. And they drive it home to you. And they got to stay in that narrative. Right or wrong. No matter what new information comes in to disprove anything that they just saw, they got to ride that wave. They got to say, nope. This is what it is. Right here. Right now. And y'all buy it and eat it up. Shocking to me. Well, to some. But it's the way of the new world. Because in this society, this is what people do all day long, every show. These networks want you to follow these narratives. They control your show. And as long as that's the case, you're going to be in these umbrellas. You're going to be in these, what they say, circumvented programs. Because there's no real anything attached to it. It's nothing real. It's all plastic. You feel me? It's very rare you get really good analytical, based on actual performance, breakdown of the game. And they'll tell you, we're not Sports Center. We're not analysts. They're listed under entertainment, not journalists. And most of the journalists now are getting rebranded as entertainment. Now, you need to ask yourself a couple of questions. Why and how is this being allowed? Doesn't make sense to the average human being.
They have, like, when you watch like ESPN or FS1, you have to have these takes, and your career is built off of these takes. And if I go out there and I have a hard stance on Sha'Carri, I gotta make sure that is true, right? Mm-hmm. And my career is built off of that if I'm right. And so no matter what, I could be wrong, but I'm gonna continue to do everything I can to prop this up and make it to be true, so my career thrives.
What he said.
You see? And that's why people like Nick Wright and what he actually did, Nick Wright decided it would be in their best interest to switch up saying Kevin Durant, because everybody brought up the fouls on these dudes. Kevin Durant was the best player in the world. He said that. And now it's LeBron, 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 LeBron. He switched his whole narrative. And the reason he switched it is because he needed to switch it. It's a false narrative. They put him in this position where he had to be the LeBron lover. And everyone else was going to tell him he was crazy. You had to have your yin and yang. And what they wanted to do was make their own Skip and Shannon with him and Chris Carter. So they mirrored that. And once he came over to getting his own show, based on the fact that he was replacing Skip. He was the young Skip replacement. So when he was on the show, he was agreeing with the opposite, polar opposite of Skip, rather. He was a clone of Shannon. Why Chris Carter, he was more with Skip Bayless. So it was the yin and yang, but in reverse. The white guy now is going for LeBron, and the black guy is going for everybody else. And then over the other side, you got the white guys going against LeBron, while Shannon, the black guy, is going, you know what I'm saying. You got Skip going for everybody else against LeBron, and Shannon is pro LeBron. And they 10 toes down in these narratives. So that's the athlete actually believe it. LeBron don't care if they believe it or not. He just loves having his ass kissed. So he'll take pictures with him and everything. Don't worry, you telling the truth. But see, Nick, what he does is throws out a bunch of false anything he can. Anything he can to back LeBron James. No matter what, LeBron's getting backed. They wanted to put up LeBron's stats for the first 2 games of how many points he's averaging in 2 games of play. Who the hell does that? Look at how many points LeBron is averaging at year 19. It's like, dude, no one cares. It's been 2 games. No one cares how many points LeBron is averaging. They were 0-2. Nothing's going to take away from that. They really should have been 0-3 last night. The NBA was so far behind in money. They did the unthinkable. And we'll get into that a little later, because that's one of the main reasons for the outcomes we got now. But like I said, we're going to get into a lot of different things. But I wanted to touch on this Brandon Marshall situation, because these shows with these fake and false narratives have been basically steering the course for a very long time, and people are buying into it. You know, it's like they're making a fake take to build their careers. Now with Skip Bayless is different. Skip is actually pro Cowboys. So no matter what happens, he's with the Cowboys. That's just it. Tom Brady, no matter what, he's rolling with Tom Brady. That's just what you know, what he knows, and he's not going to budge. It's Tom Brady, Dallas Cowboys, and I hate LeBron. And Aaron Rodgers, too. Definitely hate Aaron Rodgers. And understandably so. Now, that is him from the core. He really defends these things to the core. He doesn't waver for those. He's dug in. like an Alabama ticket. He's dug in. Now, look at the others. How dug in are they? Do they even care? Nick Wright is a person that doesn't care. He's doing it for the show. I knew that right away. I seen him on other shows. I seen him on Garbage Time. I seen him doing a lot of different things when he was coming up. You know, he had the bald head back then. Now he actually has hair. When he was looking like Jeff Blake, I thought they had Jeff Blake out here. I was like, oh, Jeff Blake's not playing ball anymore? He's doing an analyst job now. Okay. Jeff Blake. And he's like, no, that's Nick Wright. I'm like, it's not Jeff Blake? Now he got hair and stuff. So I see it. But let's leave it here, and we'll come back to it later. But I salute Brandon Marshall. Don't forget to follow the page, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Definitely follow at Kwame Brown Bus Life, at Self Talk, at Welcome to HD 2 Eyes TV, at K9 Boxing. Yes, the brother K9, former IBF champion, two-time IBF champion. K9 Bundridge has his own boxing channel now at K9 Boxing. Definitely support that. 78 Sports TV, follow that page, subscribe there. At Kwame Brown Bus Life once again, subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe here. The like button is free. Cash App is still Carcino. Thank you to everybody who super chatted and definitely hit the Cash App up. Thank you again. And on the Patreon, our hip hop quiz, I'm seeing a lot of people started off messing that up. When I asked you rapper, it was singular, not plural. It wasn't put a whole bunch of names. What rappers got you? When we was asking these questions, they were all singular. It wasn't a category of 10 people you like, 10 people you hate, but everybody started that off messing everything up. We just needed one for each. But it's interesting reading everybody's lists and taste in music. The guy who said Tupac was the least favorite, oh my God. E, you have really blown everybody's mind in the Patreon right now. Yeah, you got a lot of people's minds shook up. So we're going to go from there. Now I'm going to talk to you. Well, let me get out of here, man.